Hey YouTube, it's Apex Viper One hitting you back with another video here. The video that I've got for you today is one that I promised a while ago, but thankfully I'm kind of getting back in the swing of things, and I'm able to bring it to you now. So what we have today is the WWE World Heavyweight Championship replica. But what we're going to be doing today is I have the screws off to the side and everything. We are going inside the belt on the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So we're going to start over here. And yes, I did put a curve in this belt. If you're careful, you can do it. It shouldn't be a problem. We're going to start from left to right as we do. My Brock Lesnar plate's in. So we're going to start just like this. That's how it comes off the side, and you hear that plate does come off from inside there. And how they do it is they have it separated. And some of the versions have these stoppers, not all. Like I know the first version of the let's see, the WWE, it's called the big logo belt, where it has the kind of scratch logo and then champion underneath. That replica version did not have these. The plates just screwed in, and you could kind of see them floating around in there. So they put these in, and then thankfully on later versions there are further tabs up here, and they are actually like gold, like the metal here, but they tended to clank when the plate sat in there and had the opportunity to move up and down. All right, it settles in there. You can hear the kind of knocking. That's a lot louder. Without those, it's just tiny little strips of duct tape, and it's just something to absorb kind of that sound. And then you've got the two tabs on the side, and on replica side plates, if you get them, they have two notches to accept them right there. See if I can get it better. There is a good view. Right there. Those right there. So they just kind of seat in there. That's why you see when they kind of go in, just give them a little, and they sit right in. So this is what the underside of those look like. You can see they're like most other casted belts. You can see they are hollow. There's that edge right there. They're very deep. They're not quite as hollow as the plates on the Undisputed version 2. I kept a plate of that one out. It's just the property of plate. Just for comparison, you can see how deep that is in comparison. Right there is good. There's a little bit, maybe a mil or two. There's 3, if not 4 full millimeters of depth in this one. You can see how thick that is. That's just the hollowness, because these are just about 5 or 6 mil plates. They are ridiculously thick. So anyway, that's how those look. That plate back over here. And then the sidebar. It's not a full-sized one, like it's not like a custom one. It's pretty thin. Here, let's see if I can. Whoop. Fumbling while I'm trying to film here. There we go. It's not very tall at all. And then they're pretty much identical but mirrored as usual on this side. You've got your screw ports for them there. They just take your usual screws and they go on. Other side plate, the same, only backwards. So that's that there. And of course we have the gold tip. This one's seen a little wear. It's a bit of an older belt, but that's pretty deep. That's where your screw holes go. That's just on the end. And then of course there's a backing part behind it that goes on the back of the plate. That just has other screws. There's your female snap box. And now coming to the main plate here. Just pops right out. It's a little bit harder to pop just because the plate is curved. But it does come out. And there you go. You can see how good that looks, especially in the light. Even the simulated stones are looking pretty good. But you flip it over. You can see how deep and shallow those plates are too. It essentially has the shape of the plates. You can see the spots where the metal came in and was casted. And I have 2018.05N on the back for some reason. I didn't put that sticker on. That was already there. And as before, you can almost see a pattern, like a fabric type pattern. I don't know if that's from the casting, but that is that. Nice and shiny on this side. Then you'll see, maybe you'll see on the swoosh, I don't know if you've noticed yet or not, these belts have the penchant for some of the, not only the stones, but the paint to pop out, because what they use, especially on stuff like this, is like you can see it's kind of reflective and translucent. It's like a gel paint, a gel plastic. So they have the habit of popping out every now and again. And it's easy to lose pieces. Like this end here actually did pop out. I was able to replace it. It came off into pieces. I think it was 2 or 3 pieces. I was able to get them back in. And you truly can't tell unless you're really looking for it. Like you can see the crack right there. But again, you can't really see if you're not looking for it. But this side is actually completely different. What I did is I painted the underside myself and used casting resin, like craft casting resin. So you can see it's a little different in the light. This is a little more glossy. That's a little more, because it's the difference in the paint underneath. But it looks pretty good. It was pretty easy. And say it again with me, kids. If you're not looking for it, you're not going to see it. And the cool thing is you do get that tooling underneath the W's. All around. And how they did it, I'm going to show you now. Take that plate off. They essentially have another piece of that top smooth shell leather with the tooling on it in the shape of the belt. So it's essentially the same thing they did with the stuff over here, that kind of pebble tooling I talked about before. But it's a separate separate hexagon, just of I keep saying separate, of separate leather, and it's glued down, like you can see there where it's coming up. It's just on top of it. You know, you can see it's essentially a smooth and straight backing, and they just slapped it on top, which is really cool. It gives it that nice touch underneath of the tooling. You got your 2x5 snap box over here, 2x8. I know it's 2x7 on TV, but that's just what they do. Now the back of the belt, you have all the screw holes and everything. Female snap box. Male snap box. They still have the stitching on this one. I hope one day they come out with a version that's not, you know, $5,000 like their TV or Elite TV series, where it's essentially the belt. Yeah, you've got the patch there, and that's another good thing about this spot of extra leather. You can't see the sewing of the patch underneath. That's pretty cool. And without the strap, it's pretty soft, it's pretty floppy. Backwards, it's still got that kind of stiffness. You know, it's still pretty flat backwards, but I think that's mostly because, number one, that's the shape it's, you know, it's got the curve on the top, but I think half of it is that piece that they put on top there, but it's pretty good. You know, when you're not into the parts that are sewn on, like the patch box, it folds down on itself pretty easy. I'm trying to do this and I keep dropping it. Like, no plates on, it folds right on itself. It folds pretty well. So anyway, that is inside the belt for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time, YouTube.